We now move on, excuse me a second, to our next presentation, if I might carry on. Next up, we have Dan Birch, lead UX and I designer for Les Mills International, who will be co-presenting with Rahul Sharma, principal consultant, innovation Assurity Consulting. I'm just going to say a few words about these guys because they really do fit the bill for the day and continue some of the themes we've had already. Daniel oversees the experience design and the strategy across all of Les Mills products, helping shape the future of health and fitness in the digital age. He's over 16 years experience in the design world with a career that spans everything from packaging, art direction, brand, and now UX product. That design focus again. He's also got his own small consultancy, userxd.co, where he helps startups and digital businesses implement UX strategy to discover, define, develop, and deliver world-changing experiences. Rahul is an experienced strategist with a proven track record of delivering real results and building brand equity. Principal consultant in Assurity's design and innovation team, Rahul has led the development of the CX strategy to launch a digital streaming fitness platform for Les Mills Media, charted something of a new dawn for Sky Television, and consulted in the transformation of Auckland Transport's customer relationship management system. So two great speakers up in front of me, and during their presentation there will be a four quiz questions asked, so make sure you go to Slido. Please do welcome Dan and Rahul to the stage. Over to you guys. Cheers.
Yep, I'm Dan from Les Mills, so welcome everybody, and I'm going to pass you over to Rahul to start the presentation.
Yeah, hi. So what Dan and I are super excited to do today is actually take you through a 20-minute highlight reel of a journey that started back in January 2018 and how over the course of 24 months, we've helped transform what was a basic video library into an empowering fitness experience. So a quick explainer, I work for a company called Assurity. We're an independent New Zealand-owned technology consultancy, and our teams span from design and innovation, which is the crew I'm a part of, right the way through to software testing and delivery. And what we set out to do is work with companies to identify the uncomfortable truths, the ones that really make people wriggle and CEOs kind of nudge, and then actually work together with them to find the clever solutions that actually drive efficiency, but also commercial results. So what we're going to do through this conversation is go through some of those highs and lows that we experienced together, and hopefully share some of the tips and tricks as well to help design an experience that is customer-led first and foremost.
Cool. All right, so I could probably start off talking a little bit about Les Mills. So I'd imagine when you think of Les Mills, this is typically what you'd imagine. And you can see here, we've got the Les Mills gym from around the corner in Newmarket. But do you know there's a lot more to Les Mills International than you might expect? You know, it all started with one man in 1968. Four-time Olympian Les Mills started his first gym in Auckland, New Zealand. It was a simple operation, basic strength and cardio training for a small community of athletes. But Les Mills has actually always been ahead of the curve. Taking risks, doing fitness differently, we essentially took the 80s aerobics sort of format, matched that with music, backed it with science, and created workouts that are loved by all types of people all around the world. So now 53 years on, what started as a tiny gym in Auckland has now evolved into a global fitness movement, spanning 23 different programs, including, I'm sure, some of your favorites, Body Pump, Body Combat, and Body Attack. So the core of Les Mills International is getting those programs into gyms across the globe to help create a fitter planet. So today, Les Mills workouts are licensed in 25,000 clubs worldwide, with a team of 140,000 instructors delivering group fitness classes to over 7 million people a week. We're growing all the time, and this is largely down to our on-demand digital products, as well as the work we do in the gyms and the clubs. They can be used separately from each other, of course. So now, as mentioned before, we are going to do some prizes out today. We're going to give out some 3-month trial periods for the Les Mills on-demand platform. So we have our first question, so get ready on your Slidos. You're going to need to get in quick because we're not going to give you that much time to answer, so we've got a lot of stuff to get through. But what I'd like to know is how many countries are Les Mills in, and that includes our digital products as well as being in the physical gyms and clubs.
It's not as easy as counting those dots either. There's a few more than that now.
Yeah. So I'm just having a look at the answers now. I'm just going to see when I've got a few come in.
Just while Dan does that, I'll set a bit of a scene about the context for this world. So in the last decade, that whole idea of streaming has gone from something that was, I guess, a little bit niche into something that toddlers and grandparents are doing across the country and around the world. And all of a sudden, the whole media landscape's changed, and you've got the likes of Netflix, Apple, Disney, all kind of in the mix. Alongside this, the way people work out has also changed massively. So where 5 or 6 years ago, people would take a phone to the gym just for a playlist, it's now your PT, your dietitian, your yoga instructor, and the list goes on.
So much.
And what it means is that there's a ton of fitness apps out there really vying for your attention.
There is a lot, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but I do want to reveal the answer to the question, as we've had a few answers in there. So the correct answer is actually 116 different countries around the world. So well done to everybody who answered, and we'll be sending out that 3-month trial to the winner. So as Rahul was saying, we've seen this evolution in the streaming platforms, and obviously what's come with that is COVID-19. COVID-19 has affected every aspect of our lives, and our fitness routine is no different. From March 25th to May 2020, 1.3 billion people were instructed to stay inside. That's a lot of people quite suddenly finding themselves homebound. So this changed the way in which they work out. It's meant that companies like Peloton, who were founded in 2012, have surged in popularity this year, and they're set to double their sales in 2020 with an estimated 1.8 billion in revenue. So these are the types of powerhouse companies that Les Mills is having to compete with in this digital workout space. So it's imperative that we stay ahead of the game. So I have another question for you. With this surge in download of fitness apps, the question is, what percentage of downloads of fitness apps increased since the first lockdown in March? So we're just looking for a percentage number. So we've had a few answers there, and we'll let you actually bring those answers in while we play a short video. Hope everybody's ready for a grit workout at home. Just kidding. We're going to just give you a quick overview on All right, everybody feeling pumped after that a bit, ready to work out? I want to give you the answer of the last question. So the global rise has seen a 46% in downloads across fitness apps, which is huge.
That is millions of downloads. So.
Yeah, millions and millions. So the way that's changed for Les Mills is, for so long we've created content for clubs and been firmly in the B2B space and been at the forefront of fitness innovation. But the next chapter is how we complement that Les Mills experience by giving people access to 1,000+ workouts to stream, cast, or download wherever they choose. So after years of talking to gyms, Les Mills On Demand, we can now talk to customers directly using our digital products. And we've realized that our digital experience needed to work much harder and smarter for us. To do that, we needed a way to engage with customers and understand their needs, wants, and challenges. And that's where we brought in Rahul and the team at Assurity.
Sure did. And when we did, this is a quick glimpse of what the experience looked like. And it was very much an off-the-shelf streaming platform that was really focused on helping people find and play videos really efficiently. And it was targeted at people who had experienced Les Mills through one of those group fitness classes at a gym, but no longer had access to it. And so it was quite focused in that respect. But as we kind of got into the process and started talking to customers, what we realized was that customers were actually demanding more and more of their fitness apps and what it could deliver. And what it meant for us, or for the Les Mills team, was this opportunity to rethink the role that Les Mills On Demand played in that portfolio of products and the value that it offered to customers. So when you're as privileged as we are to work in innovation, most people assume that you create ideas that people will fall in love with. But the trick and the real secret that we've found is actually falling in love with the problems that customers have and then using that to inspire better ways to solve them. So at Les Mills, there was no shortage of empathy in terms of people understanding what happens on a fitness journey. We weren't going to help the team learn that. But what we wanted to push the team into doing, and we worked really hard to do, was actually to go into people's homes and understand how that dynamic changes when all of a sudden your workout space is that small gap between your lounge and your TV. Sorry, your seat, sofa and your TV. Yeah. And also just thinking about the variety of different ways that we all live in different parts of the world. And then once you actually understand those problems, then it was about giving the team that creative confidence and that ability to build ideas, build ideas that solve problems and test them through prototypes with real customers. And finally, once you've got that confidence in terms of a series of features or products that really start to solve a need in a customer's life, how do you actually craft a compelling value proposition that actually drives acquisition and conversion from trial to subscription?
So important. Yeah.
So what we're going to do, before I go into that, I think one of the things that does make us a little bit different is, as well as working with the team to help create this new fitness experience, at the same time, what we're also trying to do is break down the barriers and foster a culture that really allows innovation to thrive. And so this is something that we've heard the other speakers allude to earlier today. And for us, what success looks like, and the reason this slide's up, is that it's these moments where you've got people like Pierce, who's on the left there, with Jules. So Pierce is our technical lead from Les Mills. Yeah. Jules is our razor sharp marketer, and then we've got Jean-Michel, who's the CEO. And what they're all focused on doing is defining the problems to solve in a customer's life. It's when you have these moments and you're actually, each of those people are using their respective superpowers to solve a customer problems, that you're actually starting to move in the right direction and have that courage to deliver something innovative to a market.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important to have these key people from the different teams all in the same room, because this helps us keep the project moving and, you know, getting approvals consistently. If you have, the last thing you want is the wrong people in the room, and then you start getting a top-down approach. You don't bring people on the journey, and it can really undo all the hard work and the research that you've done. So, yeah.
So getting into the process a little bit. So when we talk about understanding or building that empathy, what we did was we got the team together and paired off and went into 8 interviews with some of the most diverse customers that we could find. So as usual, and rightfully so, the team questioned how could 8 people from around New Zealand represent hundreds of thousands of people from around the world. So let me explain. So when we do our empathy interviews, we go to a person's house. We don't ask them to come to us. And we go in armed with a discussion guide, a camera, and a wad of Post-it notes. And what we're there to do is really listen. So this is Bruce. He is one of my all-time favorite interviews, having done hundreds of them. He's impartial to a bit of drum and bass. And what's pretty amazing about him is he's a 75-year-old lifer who's been a member of the Vic Park gym since it first opened. It's phenomenal in itself.
Long time, yeah.
And then what he's doing is he's holding a Polaroid of a picture of him and his favorite instructor, which actually was on his fridge. So you start to get a real picture for these people and kind of what makes them tick. So we get to his house, he walks us through the lounge, and all of a sudden he stops and he opens the door and he's beaming from ear to ear. And it's because he's transformed his lounge into an immersive fitness studio. Not exactly what you expect from a 75-year-old. No. But then the conversation took a bit of a turn, and he used it, and rightfully so, as an opportunity to have a whinge at us because he was suffering from buffering. And he had resorted, I kid you not, to setting up a VPN so that he could try and fix that. I mean, that's a fairly extreme effort to go to try and get your workout video done. Anyway, so from there we went to his table and we started asking him about the role that Les Mills On Demand plays in his life. And he explained, well, once upon a time he went to the gym 3 times a week, but now driving makes him anxious. And so Les Mills On Demand has filled that gap, and it allows him to kind of keep his fitness regime going without sacrificing that. However, what then started to concern us a little was when he started saying, well, I do body combat twice a day, 3 times a week.
Which is not what we recommend for a 75-year-old.
It's really not. And then all of a sudden, it's through this process that you start to get somewhere. Because what we realized, and it was kind of just behind Bruce, was this stack, and I kid you not, it was about this high, of heart rate monitors, blood pressure monitors, oxygen monitors. And what he was doing was trying to find any piece of equipment that could tell him exactly how healthy he was or wasn't. And his goal was to try and get his heart age, so how fit he was, down to that of a 60-year-old. So that's knocking 15 years off how healthy you are. And that seriously blew us away. And I guess the reason, and I know it sounds like a bit of a tangent, but the reason we go into that detail is because what we're looking for is those nuances and those subtleties. Because when you've got those stories, all of a sudden you're able to park any biases and assumptions that you might have as a team and actually start designing and solving a problem that really lives in your customer's world.
Yeah. So what we needed to do was also talk to our customers around the world. We could do these deep contextual interviews by going into people's homes, but our key markets are across America and Europe. So how did we manage to replicate that and sort of try and get this contextual interview going across the world? And what you can see here in the picture is us doing a remote interview with Adam, was it?
Yep.
Adam from the USA.
New York.
New York. And he had his dogs with him, and they were all barking at him, and we could see into his home. We could see his device and what he was doing, and we could get a little tour of his space. And it's as close as we could get to actually seeing his environment and speaking to him in context when we can't actually, we don't have the budget to fly out to America, unfortunately, and do all these interviews in person. So, but getting those key insights was really, really good. And technology enabled us the ability to do it this way. That also meant that once COVID came, we were not needing to slow down our efforts. We could still just continue doing our user interviews. And in fact, people were more attuned to this format because they were now stuck at home and they wanted to talk to us. So it was really good.
So having gone out and actually uncovered all these insights, the next thing is that we kind of come across often is rethinking how you present and think about qualitative insights. So people always underestimate the amount of detail and data that comes out of this process. And one of the things that we've found is really effective is actually turning that into real immersive visual experiences. So what we do is create empathy maps, or in this instance, if you can see the team working on a heat map. And so you've got the screens across the top there, which is the product we're walking through. And then color-coded underneath is the feedback that we've received.
So much feedback, as you can see.
And what happens is you can really quickly start to pick out those areas where either there's something seriously wrong or it's obviously pushing people's buttons versus those that are actually people are walking through quite smoothly. And I know this is probably oversimplifying it a bit, but from a headspace standpoint, it allows the team to actually focus on the areas that are most important and gives you a bit more objectivity in terms of what you prioritize. The other thing, and this is the real kicker with this type of approach, is that it provides it serves as kryptonite for execs. So what we realized is when we created these almost art installations, we'd bring the exec team in and let them just go through it at their own pace. And all of a sudden, they're really engaging with the customer's problems and parking their assumptions and commercial constraints at the door. So once we've done that, the next phase is kind of getting into prototyping. So on the left, you can see the starting point, which is basically a workout preview screen in the current state.
Yep. It was the black screen there on the left.
Yeah, it was static, it was overwhelming, and people were basically not using it. The challenge we laid down to the team was in 2 hours, you need to redesign this, come up with a paper prototype, and actually test it with people in the foyer of the gyms down at Vic Park. Sounds absolutely ridiculous, makes everyone feel super uncomfortable. But if you've got that courage to come up with an idea and actually test it with people as early and as crudely as possible, the value of that is just immeasurable.
Huge, yeah.
And the trick there, and there's a reason we use paper, and sketches. What we're trying to do is use that prototype not to as a way to confirm an idea. It's a discussion guide to allow and accommodate constructive feedback and get people to hone in on the bits that they really like and actually build on them. So that by the time we're getting to UX design and development on that right-hand side, we're crystal clear on what we need to invest our time and effort into.
So over the course of 2 years, we talked to over 50 people and we got another layer of insights every time we spoke to somebody new. We started to learn what made people tick, the nuances of what made them different to each other, and also the attributes that they shared. So it's important about what they share as well. Through this, we engineered a set of personas that are based on real users, and this helped us define the way we market and target our customers, as well as obviously trying to solve the right problems. So with that in mind, I have another question for you. And the question is around our personas. Knowing that we have hundreds of thousands of users across the world, how many persona groups do you think we boiled that down to? So I just want to see if people come through on Slido for that one.
How are we going?
Getting a few answers in, and I reckon in a moment I can reveal the answer for you. So there's a few answers come in, so I think I will reveal that it was actually only 3 groups, and the reason for that is just simplifying those core wants and needs and really making it easy to follow. And those were mums, fitness enthusiasts, and superfans, which meant it was very simplified. Yeah. So one of the other experiments we ran was a A/B test on steroids, and this was to bring the product and marketing teams together. We basically created what you can see there is a bespoke landing page, and we made it targeted at the specific persona, so talking about the right features and heroing what's important and relevant to their needs. Armed with 3 different homepages, we teed up interviews with different customers and asked them to tell us which homepage appealed the most and would drive them to subscribe. So another question for you, so another prize. We're rolling them out quick now. When we did this process of trying to see which is the homepage that's going to resonate with you, which is the one that appealed to you, what do you think our success rate was? And those people choosing the right homepage design and therefore understanding that we got their needs correct. That's what I'd like to ask as a percentage. What was that answer? All right, we've had some, you guys are getting quick on the answers, so it's good. It means I can spit them out. So the correct answer was actually 100%. So every person that we went to and asked and showed the variance, they chose the right one that was meant to match for them. So that was really good and really positive for us to see that we were working on the right things and really understood our target users.
Yeah, and I think, just observing and seeing that experiment play out, it was a bit of a shot in the dark when we first decided to try it, but we could just see the team's confidence levels and buy-in into that app really growing and growing. And I guess coming back to that challenge around how do you get exec buy-in? Well, actually, if you can run lots of these small experiments, that's what kind of gives you the permission to kind of go into these territories and explore things that are either novel or challenging.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that talks to the minimal desirable product being what we're looking for, which is like the MVP, but we want to make it desirable rather than viable. So our new app, Les Mills Fitness Plus, which you can see some screenshots of there, went live in December 2019. So that in itself is a great achievement that we're very proud of. Since then, it's gone from strength to strength, and we continue to involve our users and evolve the product. And of course, COVID-19 happened, and we were ready with our on-demand experience to stay ahead of the curve and help people around the world work out and drive towards a fitter planet. We made sure it worked for all of our customers and just continue to delight them, and we'll keep evolving that product. Of course, others will copy.
So this is a little snapshot that came out in September. And it was when Apple announced that they were entering the fitness app market with a product called, get this?
Fitness Plus.
So it sounds a little familiar. And so after a few deep breaths, and it was probably a good thing, we realized it was a good thing that actually Apple was entering, right?
Yeah, it's good for our market. I think it just drives more attention around, the growth in this space. And who knows, Apple could possibly be a partner one day with the different content that they want to deliver. So it's all positive.
But what we thought we'd do is share a bit of the fun around the prototype that we've got up on screen. So on the left is the mock-up that we created back in June 2018 and tested with customers. And it was around how we might use something like heart rate or any other tracking measure to kind of build a bit more engagement in the workouts people are doing virtually and kind of give them a way to compare and compete and stuff like that. And that was great. And initially the idea was getting some real legs. But then as we got deeper into the tests and the conversations we were having, the feedback we started to realize was people were telling us that if they saw that heart rate as a measure, what they would try and do is push that heart rate up as high as you can, which is great to an extent. The problem with that is actually if you push too far, it's the quickest way to a heart attack.
Yeah, it's not what you're supposed to do.
So call me cynical, but maybe that's why Apple has an ECG monitor in their new watch.
Maybe.
Or maybe that's a bridge too far. But in reality, what was more important is actually by taking this approach with the team, we were able to go, well, actually, is this an avenue that's worth pursuing? Is there real value in it from a customer standpoint? And actually, is it going to help us achieve our commercial objectives? And actually, is it going to have the desired effect on the people and the experience that we want our users to have?
Yeah.
I guess more from a business standpoint, what it's also done is it's meant that now that Apple has decided to enter the market or have made it obvious that they are, we are, I guess, ahead of that curve, and we're able to have a bit more control and haven't lost the competitive advantage that might otherwise have happened if we hadn't taken this approach.
So most importantly, the results. It's really good to talk about the results because they're what really matter at the end of the day. I've got a few up here for you. We've seen 3 times the increase in our subscriber base. That, of course, has been driven as well from COVID, but it's been really positive, and that continues to grow. If I was to look today, I could maybe even say a higher number than that. Yeah,
I mean, I think the team's humble because you've got to put yourself in that position to be able to take advantage of that kind of a scenario. So.
Yep. And then we've had 95% of our users highly satisfied with the user experience. So what that tells us is that loyal users are more likely to stay on with your product. So that really improves the lifetime value. And we really are important at trying to keep our users happy, so they do that. And then we've got a 69% conversion rate from trial to membership. So that's really high and is really rating up there with lots of our competitors. So we want to try and keep that, and it's gone really well.
Yeah, and then the other thing, and being a competitive bunch from Les Mills, the other thing we were pretty stoked to receive was a bronze at the Design Institute of New Zealand Best Awards on Friday for this product and our approach for the UX research. So
yeah, very happy with that to be rewarded.
So just in summing up, what we've got is a few key takeaways that if we're going to boil it down for you, kind of the 3 things we'd like you to take away.
Yeah, so number 1 would be the courage to meet your customers. First, it's really important to get out there and talk to your customers. And then the most important thing is obviously to listen to what they have to say to you.
The second is that courage. So the courage to pursue ambitious ideas. And it is scary doing it, but equally making sure you don't get too attached to them so that you've got that courage to kill them off in that pursuit of greatness.
Yep. And then last but not least is the courage to execute on the customer's needs and see them through to market, which is obviously critical to creating the experience. Yeah.
So that wraps it up. Is there a little nice to have coming up soon for people?
Yes, there is. So to let you into a little secret, on November 27th, we've got a 1-month special trial instead of the normal 14 days. So we're going to share out a link to that for everybody viewing, so you can go and download and experience Les Mills On Demand and Fitness Plus. That's coming up.
Yeah, so no excuses now, team. Get out there, get amongst it.
Yeah, so join Les Mills, and if you do need help with any of your UX, CX design thinking, then Assurity are the guys to talk to.
I told him to say that.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Rahul. First of all, thank you for being on time. You packed in so much then. Just some takeouts from me. Your 3 takeouts at the end seem to epitomise so many of the takeouts for the whole day. I'm going to go back and scribble those up later. But thank you for bringing Bruce into the room.
No problem.
Thank you for bringing the customer into this room here.
Yeah.
I really feel you meeting customers head on. Just 2 facts. Nobody guessed there were just 3 personas. which
dear.
kind of goes to show we can overcomplicate and
very much
personas,
so.
Yep.
True.
And also you had the most questions. I'm just going to pick 3 because we haven't got much time.
Cool.
Okay.
So here we go. Most popular question with 9 votes. How do you address the consistency differences between your offline experiences? You talked about this a bit in the gym, and your online demand experience. I mean, what are you doing to bridge the gap? Because they are different experiences.
Yeah, well, I think technology is helping bring those 2 worlds together.
Right.
And there's constant ways that we're looking at how do we innovate within our clubs, how are we talking to our customers, and how do we follow their journey between the real world and the digital world.
Right.
And it's something we're continuing to evolve and improve. I can't give you we do it this way, but that's generally the approach that we're looking at. And
I think one example that does spring to mind is the way the team have reformatted some of the workouts that are available. So at the gyms, they're typically half an hour or an hour, right?
Yeah.
Whereas for on demand, we know mums might only have 20 minutes while a baby's napping to work out. So actually, they've looked at how they can recut some of these workouts specifically for that opportunity.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question has suddenly crept up. I'd call it an industry insider question here.
Righto.
And how successful, you don't have to answer, by the way, you can do that. Okay. How successful was the partnership with TVNZ during lockdown in getting new users to Les Mills on demand, or did it bomb?
It was really successful.
Thank you.
Yeah, we saw great numbers, and we saw huge uptake and participation in those. So that actually worked really well for us.
Okay. One of those challenging offline, online questions. Social interaction, big part of being in the gym.
Yep.
Used to be for me many years ago. How do you capture social interaction, or don't you?
Oh, good question.
It's a good question, and we've done quite a bit of research on, feeling part of something bigger, feeling part of a community, and feeling part of a group.
Right.
And we do have quite a prolific Facebook group, which tries to at least mirror some of that social side. And we are looking at how we can bring in those learnings into the digital space.
Right.
But we do say, kind of to go back to your first question that you asked, how do we bring those worlds together? In that you're going to be doing a live class, then you're going to be doing a digital experience, and there's a community around all of those things. It's just all enabling. Right?
I think one of the other things was we literally tested an idea around creating a social network as part of the app experience. And funnily enough, and it was pretty crude and very early on.
Yep.
And we put that in front of customers, and I think that actually made it to digital, that particular prototype.
Yeah.
But the feedback we got was actually people were saying, well, I've already got too many social media platforms in particular, so don't give me another one because it's meaningless to me. And so, and I guess this is where that desirability lens meets that viability and feasibility aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
Right. Was that a case of you having to check some of your assumptions at the door with the customer feedback?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I think that's the best part about customer feedback is they will be as blatant and blunt as you can imagine.
It sounds
so if
like
there's no value, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
One more question. Time for one more question. There's been some great questions for you guys, actually. This one is about motivation. Motivation, big factor here. Do you take motivation levels into consideration, or are you designing user experiences only targeting your most dedicated members already?
No, so to answer that question, we really massively focus on motivation, because it's motivation to work out, which then means you're going to keep using the product and doing, reaching your goals. Without motivation, there's nothing, because no one will go do their workout.
Yeah.
So we actually try and tie in habit forming type onboarding experiences, notifications and reminders, tracking of your workout so you can be motivated. And then of course we've got the content and the trainers themselves who are super motivating people and get you up in the morning.
Well, I'd love for the guys to get you back to talk about your onboarding journey. But in the meantime, thank you very much, guys. That was a fantastic presentation.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.